Hello, um, subscribers. If you had any doubt that the second seal of chapter 6 of the book of Revelation, if you had any doubt that the second seal has been broken, well, here it is. It's official. And this is happening in many places, more than one. In France, we see that the protest has grown bigger after their president, vows to piss off the uninjected, and Macron's words may have backfired. After a huge crowd estimated to be 4 times greater than that of December 18th, they took to the streets, promising to piss him off instead. And at least 100,000 people took to the streets of France in protest against the C-19 restrictions and mandates, after Macron promised to make the lives of the uninjected increasingly hard until they accept the injection. The huge crowds on Saturday were roughly 4 times larger than back on December 18th, according to police estimates. The protesters opposed, among other things, a nearly implemented government plan to make proof of vaccination against C-19 mandatory, to use public transport, eat at restaurants, and attend events. France's National Assembly passed a bill this week which, if approved by the Senate, would introduce the so-called injection passes to replace the existing health passes. Under the current rules, a negative test or antigen test gives access to a pass that is valid for only 24 hours. An injection pass, however, would only be issued to those who have been fully injected. People who were so-called infected with C-19 would have to receive a booster shot 3 to 4 months after contracting the so-called virus in order to get an injection pass. The health minister said in the meantime they could use their recovery certificates. The crowd in Paris alone numbered at least 18K, according to official estimates, with protesters heard chanting, "We'll piss you off," in reference to Macron's controversial comments. It says that 10 protesters were arrested and 3 police officers were reportedly injured in scuffles in the capital. During an interview with Le Parisien on Tuesday, Macron said, "I am not about pissing off the French people, but as for the uninjected, I really want to piss them off." Macron revealed that continuing to piss off uninjected French people to the end is his strategy, and boasted that only a minority was resisting government restrictions. So Macron vows to piss off the uninjected into submission. How do we reduce that minority? We reduce it, sorry for the expression, by pissing them off even more, the French president said, explaining that the plan includes putting pressure on the uninjected by limiting as much as possible their access to activities in social life. And as you may recall, one of our sisters, Katie K, she had explained how this will be done in stages and incrementally, tightening and putting more restrictions as time goes by and taking more freedoms. So just to show you, so if there were any of you that these seals haven't been opened, well, you're seeing it happen right in front of your eyes. Even today, Kazakhstan, there are also protests, and there's a lot of unrest in the capital, and It's allegedly even civilians have taken weapons, and some of them are professional snipers, and they are shooting on the police. And this trend is going to be seen through many other countries as the restrictions become unintolerable. So we know, just a recap, Revelation chapter 6, and as we know, verse 1, and I saw when the lamp opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, Come and see. And we know that this first seal has been opened. In verse 2, and I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and we know that bow translates into toxon, and we derive the word, another word called toxicon, which is an arrow dipped in poison, and we know what the arrow dipped in poison is doing right now to many. And a crown was given unto him. And we know that crown translated into Latin and Spanish translates into corona. And he went forth conquering and to conquer. We know that he went forth globally. He went around the world imposing his mandates, and governments around the world are following the everything, and they are obeying instructions from the same playbook. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. And now you see this second seal opening right in front of your eyes. Why? Because peace now has been taken away from the earth. As we read in verse 4, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. How can you sleep at night when you know that they're coming for your children? Let's carry on. And that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. How are they killing one another? Well, they are. We know that sword translates into a dagger. And that thing with the I have to be careful what to say. There is a fine there's a fine sharp metallic end, and attached to it is a plastic plunger. You understand what I mean, okay? And that's being used to inject poison and to kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. That's okay, the dagger, that thing which I described to you, it's being used to kill people. And they're lining up for it. All right? Here where I live, 90% of them, they're happy, you know? They're happy to get genetically modified. Verse 5. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And we know that the pair of balances, a balance has a structure that resembles a yoke. The yoke that is around the neck of two oxen. And the yoke of bondage, we know, pertains to slavery. And these people who are lining up, all right, to have something put into their bodies, and they're going now to be tracked and surveilled 24/7, they have been subjected to the yoke of bondage, beyond the shadow of doubt. Verse 6, and I heard a voice in the midst of the beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou, hurt not the oil and the wine. And we know that scarcity and inflation of food prices is coming. It's in the pipeline. It's already there. We can already see it, and it's going to happen from week to week. It's not going to be from month to month. It's going to be from week to week. Verse 7. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Okay, maybe I've explained this in the past, but it's worth repeating for for new subscribers, or maybe you want to share it with others. So it's saying, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. So 7.9 billion people on this planet. Let's round it to 8 billion. All right? Division by 4. That leaves 2 billion dead from this thing. Okay? So this thing is going to kill 2 billion, because it carries on to say, to kill with sword. All right? Sword translates into dagger. That thing that's being used to put that abomination into people's bodies. Okay? It resembles a small dagger. And with hunger, because there are going to be people who are going to lose the roof above their heads, and they're not going to have food to feed themselves and their families, because people are losing their jobs. And today I realized another thing. You know, in Revelation chapter 13, where it says in verse 16 that without the mark of the beast you cannot neither buy nor sell. So we are all familiar with the act of buying, all right? But you may say, I am not selling anything. Oh, sure you are. Listen to this. If you are working, all right, you are using your time, your hours to work. And then in return, you are getting money. What is that? That's an act of selling. You are selling your time and your energy, and in return, you're being paid. You're getting money. That's an act of selling. So, without your job, you're not selling. Without taking the mark of the beast, you cannot sell. Apart from you cannot buy. Do you get me? Because you are, okay? You are using your time and energy. You're selling your time and energy. Without the mark, you cannot sell your time and energy. And therefore, if you cannot sell your time and energy, you do not receive money without the mark of the beast. So let's carry on, because I have gone off a tangent, which is somewhat related anyway. So it says here, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword. We know what that sword is, okay? That thing with the plastic and the sharp pointed metallic thing that pierces the skin. And with hunger, we already spoke about that, and with death, because they are going to die from that sword. And it says also with the beasts of the earth. What beasts of the earth? Well, these pathogens that are synthesized in the labs. Okay? We're not just talking about bacteria here. We're talking about those other things that begin with the V, and that they are synthesized in laboratories, and that they are used as bioweapons. All right? And they are released periodically from time to time. See, so when there is rioting, as we have just seen, all right, in France and in Kazakhstan and other countries, they're going to release these nasty things, all right, so they can control the population, the angry population. And they will also be using frequencies, mind you, because, you know, they had to have them in place before all this unrest begins. That those frequencies, which are military grade, all right, the number of fingers on one hand and the first letter of girl. And even the seal has been opened. Verse 9, and when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. Yes, people are being erased for speaking the truth. And I beheld, and this is the sixth seal which we haven't seen yet. So I'm fairly certain that the first 5 seals have been opened up till verse 11. So as you can see, we are deep into the book of Revelation. So show you something. So remember, Christians, whatever happens, the Lord is with us. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine adversaries. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So remember, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. This is one of those psalms which you should be reading often, perhaps even daily, so that you remember yourselves, so that you remember the Lord's promises, because we are walking through the valley of the shadow of death. And something else which I found very interesting and which is also happening right now. Got the wrong book, it seems. Okay. So we're in Joel chapter 3, and this verse really struck me here. So Joel chapter 3 is echoing what we read in the book of Revelation and also in Matthew chapter 24. In verse 13, we read, Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. And this is mirroring what's in Revelation chapter 14, when the Lord comes with the sickle, because the harvest is ripe. Now, verse 14, and this is happening right now, in the real present time. Multitudes multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. So, multitudes, multitudes. Yes, globally, everybody around the world has a decision to make, whether to take the mark of the beast or not. There's a lot of coercion, all right, and pressuring going on, and we're all being subjected to it to a greater or lesser extent. So we are all in the valley of decision. We have a decision to make. For the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. So remember, since we are in the valley of decision, therefore the day of the Lord is near. The great tribulation is on our doorstep. And in verse 15, the sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. And we read that in Matthew chapter 24. So let's end this video on a positive note. I will read verse 16. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and earth will shake, but the Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. You see, when you are feeling down, oppressed by the enemy, depressed, because that's one of the strategies of Satan. You need to renew your mind on a daily basis, as Apostle Paul tells us. So when you're feeling like that, go and read the scriptures and search out the Lord's promises, so your spirits may be lifted. It has never failed to lift my spirits, because I am human like everybody else. And I, like everybody else, can feel the oppression that the enemy is subjecting upon us from every single corner. And in verse 18 we read, and it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down in new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and the fountains shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. Remember, brothers and sisters, we won't be in the valley of decision forever. We're in the valley of decision for only a short time, and the Lord walketh with us. So whenever you're feeling depressed and oppressed, please reach out to the scriptures and remind yourselves of the multiple promises that are throughout the scriptures. Many of them, you can find them in the Psalms. So I hope that this reading has edified you. Be of good cheer and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. God bless you all.